The courtroom was dead silent. Judge Atkinson leaned forward, peering over her glasses at the woman in the sharp gray suit. "Mrs. Caldwell," she asked, "do you agree to divide the marital assets equally?" Victoria Caldwell smiled a calm, chilling smile that didn't belong in a divorce court. "Absolutely, Your Honor." She paused. "But first, I want everyone in this room to watch one video." At that moment, Marcus Caldwell, the man who had been her husband for 20 years, turned ghostly white. His hands gripped the edge of the table. His knuckles went pale. "No," he whispered. "Victoria, don't." But she didn't look at him. With a single nod, the large screen at the front of the courtroom flickered to life. What happened next would destroy everything Marcus thought he had hidden for nearly a decade. But 3 months earlier, none of this would have seemed possible. Victoria had spent 26 years in the United States Army. She'd earned the rank of colonel the hard way. Through deployments. Sleepless nights. Decisions that could cost lives if made wrong. She had missed birthdays. Missed Christmases. She had sat in a tent halfway across the world, watching a satellite photo of her daughter's 3rd birthday party because she couldn't be there. Every sacrifice, she told herself, was for something bigger. For their future. For the family she and Marcus were building together. Brick by brick. Deployment by deployment. Marcus had always said the same thing before every goodbye. "Go do your job, Vic. I'll take care of home." And she believed him. For 2 decades, she wired her paycheck home. Her combat pay. Her bonuses. Every hardship allowance the Army gave her. She sent it back to the house on Maple Ridge Drive. "He's taking care of us," she used to tell herself, lying awake in barracks. She trusted him without needing to check twice. She should have checked. The day everything cracked open started like any other. Victoria came home 3 days earlier than scheduled from a training rotation. She was hoping to surprise Marcus with dinner and a good bottle of wine. Instead, she found him standing in the kitchen. Arms crossed. Waiting. "I've met someone," he said. No preamble. No softening. "Who is she?" "Her name's Chloe. She's 26. Victoria did the math without meaning to. The same number as her years of service. No apology in his voice. No guilt in his posture. Then he said the sentence that would replay forever. "The Army can keep you. I want a real woman." The kitchen went silent except for the hum of the refrigerator. Victoria looked at him. She saw a stranger wearing her husband's face. "I understand," she said quietly. That was all. No tears. No pleading. No raised voice. She turned, picked up her bag from the door, and walked out into the cool evening air. She didn't cry in the car either. She drove with both hands steady on the wheel. Her mind was already calculating. 20 years. Every deployment. Something didn't add up. 2 days later, she sat across from a divorce attorney. A sharp woman named Nora Blackwood slid a legal pad across the desk. "What do you want out of the proceedings?" Victoria didn't answer right away. "I don't want revenge," she finally said. "I want to know what my husband actually did for 20 years while I was gone." Nora set down her pen slowly. Over the following weeks, Nora brought in a forensic accountant named Gideon Hale. A quiet man who spoke in numbers. Alongside him came a private investigator. Elena Frost. A former detective with a way of looking at people like she was already 3 steps ahead. At first, Victoria assumed the investigation would confirm one thing. That Marcus had been unfaithful. But the deeper Gideon dug, the clearer it became. Infidelity was the smallest piece. Your husband has a shell company registered in Delaware. Active for 6 years. Victoria opened the folder slowly. A townhouse in Charleston purchased under an LLC. A boat registered to a business entity that existed only on paper. Funds moved from their joint savings into channels that led nowhere. He used the power of attorney you signed before your last deployment. 9 days after you left for Germany. 9 days. She had been overseas 9 days believing her husband was setting up a college fund. Instead, he had been laying the groundwork for a second life. This wasn't impulsive. This was a long-term plan. That night, Victoria sat alone with her laptop. She pulled up old emails. Old bank statements. Tax records. She cross-referenced dates of deployments against dates of financial transactions. Every time she left the country, money moved. Every time she was unreachable for weeks, some new account appeared. She found a particular email that stopped her cold. A message from Marcus to an old college friend. Restructuring assets before things get complicated. Victoria had been in a briefing room halfway across the world when he had typed those words. The betrayal wasn't just emotional. It was architectural. 2 weeks into the investigation, Elena called. We found something on an old hard drive. A video. One I don't think your husband ever knew existed. Elena met Victoria at the house on Maple Ridge Drive on a gray Tuesday afternoon. Years earlier, Victoria had insisted on installing a full security system. Cameras at every entrance. Marcus had called it excessive. At some point, he had disabled most of the cameras. What he hadn't known was that a secondary camera tucked inside a decorative shelf in the home office had remained wired the entire time. Forgotten. Overlooked. Recording. Elena led Victoria down to the basement. Gideon sat hunched over a dusty hard drive. I think you should sit down before we play it. Victoria didn't sit. Arms crossed. Spine straight. The video began. Marcus sat behind the desk that used to be her father's. Across from him sat Chloe. And his attorney. And an accountant. They spoke freely. Unaware they were being recorded. We need the offshore transfers finalized before the court date. She won't even notice. Too busy playing soldier to care about spreadsheets. Chloe laughed. The judge will probably feel sorry for her. That works in our favor, right? Exactly. Nobody's going to blame the guy whose wife was gone 200 days a year. Then came the moment that changed everything. How long has this been in motion? Marcus smiled. The same smile she remembered from their wedding day. Honestly. Almost 8 years. Their youngest daughter had just started middle school 8 years ago. Nora finally broke the silence. With this video, we win completely. We could end this next week. Not yet. Why wait? Because I don't want a quiet settlement. I want the truth said out loud in front of everyone who spent the last year believing his version of this story. Nobody in the room argued. The morning of the final hearing, Marcus walked into the courthouse like a man who had already won. He wore a new navy suit. He greeted his attorney with a confident smile. Chloe sat 2 rows behind him. His parents sat beside her. His brother and sister-in-law too. All dressed for what they believed would be a just outcome. Victoria entered separately. Charcoal suit. Posture straight. Marcus gave her a pitying nod. The hearing began. Marcus's attorney described Victoria's career like 26 years of service was abandonment. He painted Marcus as a devoted husband left behind again and again. Marcus took the stand. His voice cracked at the right moments. He spoke about missing his daughter's graduation. About anniversaries alone. About the loneliness of loving someone who kept choosing to leave. Several jurors in the gallery wiped at their eyes. Victoria listened without flinching. Loneliness had never been a license to steal. When it came time for closing statements, Judge Atkinson addressed both parties. Before we proceed to asset division. Mrs. Caldwell. Do you agree to divide the marital assets equally? Victoria rose slowly. Absolutely. But first, I'd like everyone in this room to watch something. A ripple of confusion moved through the gallery. Marcus's face drained of color. No. This wasn't disclosed as evidence. It was disclosed 3 days ago, Your Honor, Nora said calmly, sliding a filed document to the bailiff. Properly and within the timeline. Proceed, Judge Atkinson said. Marcus's eyes moved to Chloe. Calculation passed between them. Two people realizing the ground beneath them had already begun to give way. Don't, Marcus said again, quieter this time. But it was too late. Victoria pressed play. The courtroom fell into a silence so complete that the hum of the lights seemed suddenly loud. Marcus's recorded voice filled the room. She won't even notice. Too busy playing soldier to care about spreadsheets. A woman in the gallery gasped audibly. Marcus's mother pressed a hand to her mouth. The judge will probably feel sorry for her. Poor overworked colonel. Never home. Exactly. Nobody's going to blame the guy whose wife was gone 200 days a year. Then came the line that shattered everything. How long has this been in motion? Honestly. Almost 8 years. The words hit the courtroom. Not loudly. Completely. Judge Atkinson reached for the remote herself. A freeze frame of Marcus's smiling face. Caught mid-sentence. Forever recorded in the act of celebrating his own deception. She removed her glasses slowly. Counsel. Would you like to explain this to the court? Marcus's attorney opened his mouth. Closed it again. I was not made aware of the contents. That's evident, the judge said. Marcus's brother stood abruptly and walked out without a word. Chloe had gone rigid. Heads throughout the gallery turned toward her. Victoria remained standing. Calm. Controlled. This wasn't vengeance born of rage. It was justice delivered with the discipline of someone who had spent 26 years learning that the truth properly presented needed no embellishment to devastate. Marcus finally looked at her. For the first time since the day he told her the army could keep her, Victoria saw something unfamiliar. Not arrogance. Fear. Victoria. I can explain. You already did, she said, her voice steady. 3 minutes ago. Very clearly. Judge Atkinson called for a brief recess. The courtroom erupted. Attorneys huddled. Family members whispered. Chloe rose and slipped quietly toward the exit. Marcus remained seated, staring at his own hands. Nora leaned toward Victoria, her voice low. That went about as well as it possibly could have. Victoria nodded once. But she didn't feel triumphant. Not exactly. What she felt was the particular relief of watching a truth she had carried alone for months finally become visible to everyone. The recess stretched into something longer than 20 minutes. By the time Judge Atkinson returned, whispers had already spread beyond the courtroom walls. Given the contents of this footage, I'm ordering a full forensic audit of the marital assets. All accounts associated with Mr. Caldwell, including any shell entities, will be frozen pending review. Within the hour, formal referrals had been made. One to the state's Financial Crimes Unit. Another flagged for potential federal review. News of the hearing moved quickly through his circle. Business partners who had trusted Marcus with investments began making phone calls. 2 contracts he had been quietly negotiating fell through within the week. A country club membership he had held for over a decade quietly declined to renew his dues. Chloe left first. She didn't call. She simply stopped answering. Within days, Marcus learned through a mutual acquaintance that she had moved out. Back in with her parents 2 states away. His own family proved little steadier. His brother, who had walked out of the courtroom, didn't return his calls for weeks. His mother told him gently that she needed time before she could look at him the same way again. Victoria moved through the following weeks with the same measured discipline that had carried her through 2 decades of service. She oversaw the transition of her daughter's college accounts back into protected trusts. She began reclaiming pieces of a life quietly dismantled behind her back. Late one evening, sorting old photographs in a storage unit, she found a picture from their wedding day. Marcus Young. unguarded. Grinning at the camera with an expression she once believed was love. She sat with the photograph for a long moment, feeling grief for the years she had genuinely believed in. Marcus called her twice that month. The first time, she let it go to voicemail. Victoria. Can we talk? Please. She didn't call back. The second time, something made her answer. I'm sorry, Marcus said, crying. His composure entirely gone. I don't even understand how it got this far. You already made your choice, Marcus. 8 years ago. I don't hate you, she added. But I don't have anything left to give you either. Not anger. Not forgiveness. Just distance. She ended the call gently. 6 months later, the auditorium at Fort Belvoir filled with the quiet formal energy of a military retirement ceremony. Flags positioned with care along the stage. Victoria Caldwell stood near the wings in her dress uniform. Ribbons and medals arranged in careful rows that told the story of 26 years without needing a single word of explanation. When her name was called, she walked to the podium with the same measured steps she had used crossing far more dangerous ground. The applause that rose to meet her felt like something physical. Her 2 daughters sat in the front row, both grown now. Watching their mother with such pride it made Victoria's throat tighten before she had spoken a word. She spoke about service. About the particular kind of honor that doesn't announce itself. She spoke about loyalty. About the difference between people who claim to love you and people who prove it through years of consistent, unglamorous presence. She did not mention Marcus by name. Somewhere in the back rows, seated alone near the exit doors, Marcus sat quietly. Having asked through an intermediary if he might attend. Victoria had agreed, not out of sentiment, but because she no longer felt the need to keep him out of rooms that mattered to her. After the ceremony, a young lieutenant approached Victoria hesitantly. How did you survive it? The young woman asked. Losing everything like that while still trying to serve. Victoria considered the question. I didn't lose everything, she said finally. I only lost the man who was pretending to love me. Everything that actually mattered. My daughters. My career. The people who stood beside me through 26 years of this uniform. All of that stayed exactly where it was supposed to be. The lieutenant nodded slowly. Something in her expression shifted, as though she had been given a piece of information she would carry for a long time. Later, as the reception wound down, Victoria stepped outside alone. Standing beneath the flag, hanging still in the warm evening air. She thought about the night in the kitchen on Maple Ridge Drive. Marcus's voice. Sharp and certain. The army can keep you. I want a real woman. She almost laughed, watching the flag shift slightly in a breeze that had finally picked up. He was right about one thing, she said quietly to no one in particular. The army did keep me. It taught me discipline, honor, integrity. And when the day came that I needed those things most, they turned out to be worth far more than everything he tried to steal. She stood there a while longer. Then she turned and walked toward her car in her dress uniform. Spine straight. Steps unhurried. She didn't glance toward the corner where Marcus had quietly slipped out. For the first time in over 20 years, Victoria Caldwell walked forward into her life. Belonging completely to no one but herself. And it felt, finally, like freedom. If this story moved you, drop a comment below and let me know where you're watching from tonight. Have you ever discovered a truth about someone you loved that changed everything you thought you knew? We have so many more stories like this one to share. So please subscribe and stay close, right here at Twisted Family Revenge Stories. Thank you for spending this time with Victoria's story. And let's keep walking this journey together.